my guy. So if y'all watched my last video, y'all know that I was talking about how we actually live underneath the firmament. But in that video, I told y'all at the end that I was going to tell y'all what stars were. Now listen up, because this finna be crazy. So when I was looking through my comments, I seen a lot of people saying that when they look through telescopes, that the stars look like lights underwater. Someone also said they shake like ripples, and they look like as if you're looking through water. So I was looking at the comments and I was like, oh, they don't know. They don't know what stars is. Woo! Well, let me tell you. See, what y'all don't know is stars are actually dancing glimpses of light, interacting with the water above the firmament. See, when God made the firmament, he divided the waters from which they were under the firmament and the waters that was above the firmament. Why you think the sky is blue? Big bodies of water is always going to turn the water blue. Just like when you get in your bathtub, the water come out clear, but once it fills up the tub, it has that blue tint to it. See, I'm finna show y'all a video of someone zooming up to a star with their phone. See, those colors that you see coming off of the stars are based off a wavelength interval and frequency interval. Now listen to that word I just said, frequency. Alright, so now I'm about to show y'all a video of a scientist creating a star and saying what you need to create one.
This star in a jar is made when a sound wave is passed through a small bubble inside a flask of liquid. And this sound wave makes the bubble do something remarkable. First it expands, then it collapses. And this collapse happens so violently that vapor molecules trapped inside the bubble slam together and heat up so much that the bubble gives off an incredible burst of heat and light, several thousand times a second, giving the appearance of a star.
So keywords: sound wave, frequency, water bubbles. A strong sound wave, frequency, creating such a strong force through a water bubble that makes it collapse and burst into light, creating a star. Now remember when I said that the color of the stars that keep on changing is based off a wavelength interval and frequency interval. Now God said, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He said, let there be light, and there was light, creating light with the sound, vibration, and frequency of his voice. The Word is God. He created those same stars using the frequency of his voice and using the water bubbles throughout the water above the firmament. His voice was so powerful that it allowed the bubbles to collapse, making dancing water glimpses of light. See, Japanese scientist Masaru Emoto came up with a new way to capture messages through water. He took samples of water and freeze them at -25 degrees. He'll then analyze the water after a few hours underneath a dark field microscope with photographic capabilities in a lab in a constant temperature of -5 degrees. He'll then test out different audio frequencies and human sound vibrations on each sample. He focuses on human vibration energy, such as thoughts, words, music, and how it affects the molecular structure of water. Here's some of his results and works of him doing it. Using different sounds and words, creating different shapes on the water, as so. It's similar to the way cymatics work. Basically, as the pitch and the tone increases, geometric patterns will form and become more complex. Cymatics, or sound frequencies in water, resembles the pulsating pattern of what an actual star looks like when zoomed in. Different frequencies and sounds and vibrations in water created the different forms of dancing glimpses of light. The book of Enoch also talks about how lightning comes from the stars, but they will not lose their form. The Bible also talks about how powerful God's voice is. It's the sound of rumbling thunder when he speaks. So remember, God spoke the word into being, and it was so. Such as words, speech, sound, frequency, vibration. His words created the stars within the water above the firmament. The same way that scientists just showed us how they made a star. Using water by adding a frequency of a strong enough sound and vibration. What sound is more powerful than God's? Creating water bubbles that collapsed and bursted into light. Is the same way that God spoke light into existence, using the frequency, vibration, and sound of his voice through the water of the firmament, creating water bubbles all throughout the water, that his word was so strong it allowed the bubbles to burst into light, creating stars, creating the dancing glimpses of water above the firmament. So always remember, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word, frequency, sound, vibration, speech, sound wavelength. Whew! What a God. My guy. So this is just an add-on from the video from yesterday. So someone told me that a lady made a video on here saying that stars and planets are actually angels, which that is true to a certain extent. See, as y'all know, I made a video yesterday saying how stars are actually dancing water glimpses of light from the water above the firmament. That's discussed in the Bible. See, the stars are dancing water glimpses of light. But the planets that are called wandering stars in the Bible are angels. Not all of the stars. Only the 7 planets. The wandering stars. I'm going to show you a video of regular stars zoomed in. Then I'm going to compare them to the planets, the wandering stars, that are mentioned in the Bible. So here's a video of regular stars, the dancing water glimpse of light. As you can see in that video, it had some of the wandering stars in there also. Now remember when I told y'all that space don't exist and we can't go outside the firmament of the earth? And also there's no such thing as other planets? And how all NASA taught y'all was a lie? See, without adding Earth into this equation, you have 7 planets. 7 wandering stars. See, the Bible talk about those stars. And the book of Enoch does too, which is one of the lost books of the Bible. See, in Revelations 1:16, it said he had in his right hand 7 stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp 2-edged sword. And in Revelation 1:20, it talks about how the 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches. Now, those 7 angels spoken about in the Bible is Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Now, if you pay attention when you zoom up on the stars compared to the planets, you will see that all of them don't give off that wheel illusion. Most of the stars give off different looking frequencies, as so, while others will give off a different effect, like the wheels of illusion that's spoken of in Ezekiel. Not all stars are angels, only the 7 planets, the wandering stars, which is known as the Watchers. Also, not all planets, wandering stars, and angels look like the wheel of illusion in Ezekiel, like this one, or this wandering star.
That is one beautiful star.
Dearly beloved,
Dang, look
we are
at
gathered here today to get through this thing called life. electric word, life that means forever, and that's a mighty long time. But I'm here to
But one thing y'all can't do is mix up the word. Y'all cannot put the word stars and star in the same category. He uses the word stars in different ways. For example, the morning star. It precedes the day and symbolizes Christ bringing the gospel light. It also symbolizes the Spirit illuminating hearts of those who accepted Christ. The day star refers to the king of Babylon, who followed in the steps of Satan in wanting to become greater than God, which shows that all stars that are spoken in the Bible are not always positive. Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. The star spoken of in Numbers refers to Yeshua, Jesus, the King of Jews, Hebrew Israelites, which was recognized and followed. In ancient times, the stars was used as a guide to travel at night. As I said in Revelations, Yeshua, Jesus, holding the 7 stars in his hands, which represented the angels of the 7 churches, also leading the way. God also uses the term shining like stars, which represents those who have accepted Christ will have the chance to shine his light so brightly that they'll be like stars. Now you have the falling of stars, spoken of in Revelations, when it said that an enormous red dragon tail swept a third of the stars out of the sky and flung them to earth. Now, many people believe that a third of stars were angels that the devil took with him when he was cast out of heaven. But that's not the truth. The falling of stars represents monumental upheaval. Now remember, he swung a third of the stars towards the ground, causing a great destruction. Have y'all ever wondered where meteors came from? Or falling stars or shooting stars? See, in Revelations, speaks about how a third angel sounded, and a great star fell from the heaven, burning like a torch. And it fell on the third of the rivers, and on the springs of water, the same way that the devil swung the stars from the sky, which created a burning torch that came to ground. It also talks about in Revelations that the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star from heaven which have fallen on earth, and the key of the bottomless pit was given to him. See, in the Hebrew Bible, the term star referred to all heavenly bodies, except for the sun and the moon. Stars are mainly connected to the light that Christ brings, such as the regular stars. But stars are also mainly connected to angels and leadership, the 7 planets, the 7 angels, the watchers. Also in Mark 13 and 25, it says, "And the stars will begin to fall from heaven, and the powers that are in the heaven will be shaken." The stars will fall and begin to hit the earth, bringing on a fiery torch, which we today call meteors. So always remember, a great star fell from the heaven, burning like a torch. Some are for beauty, as in a shooting star, but others can be for wrath, such as meteors. None of the wandering stars or planets are falling angels. They were thrown into the ground in the gloomy pits of the darkness until the day of judgment. The planets, wandering stars, the watchers, are the 7 angels. So what she said is partially true. The planets, the wandering stars, are angels. But the stars are dancing water glimpses of light from the waters above the firmament.
So we've all been told there's no land at the North Pole. But if we look at a live windfinder view, we can see in the center of the earth there is something large diverting the wind. What is this, you may ask? Well, I'm about to show you. Just go ahead and type in on Google, old map of the North Pole, and all these old maps will come up from the 1500s. And here's what they look like. Look right here, made in 1595, Earth map North Pole. And if we look in the center of the map here, we have what is called the Rupes Nigra. Rupes Nigra was believed to be a huge magnetic rock located at the North Pole. This is why all the compasses point north. The Rupes Nigra was 33 miles in size, which is literally bigger than most cities, which is why it's able to block the wind like this at the North Pole. And what does Rupes Nigra mean? It means black rock. Who's the largest investment company in the world, owning $10 trillion in assets? Oh yeah, it's BlackRock. Where do you think they got their name from? Look at all the companies they own. It's funny how all the early NASA Satelloon footage looks like this, with some big black hole in the center. Nothing to see here, guys. If you guys didn't know, this is literally the mountain that's spoken about all throughout the Bible. This is Mount Zion, which is located directly above the Garden of Eden, which is why you see these 4 rivers coming out of it. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads. If we look in the book of Ezekiel, thou hast been in the Garden of Eden. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of God. So we know the holy mountain of God is located in the Garden of Eden. The Rupes Nigra is the holy mountain of God. Look what it says here, beautiful in elevation, which means it's very high. The joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion in the far north, which is why you can literally see the very top of it poking out through the clouds. No other mountain in the world does this. God's word is true once again. If this gets 100k likes, I'll go into depth in another part where we talk about what it's like there, from people who have visited there themselves. Can you make a video on the tides? So the moon doesn't control the tides at all. What controls the tides are the 4 rivers that are flowing out of the Garden of Eden at the North Pole. This map you're looking at right here is a map from the 1500s of the North Pole. Mount Zion is located at the North Pole, which is the mountain spoken about all throughout the Bible. Then underneath that is the Garden of Eden, which is why the 4 rivers are coming out of it, just like it says in the Bible. Now if we look here, one of those rivers, look, it passes through the whole land of Ethiopia, meaning it literally goes around that entire continent. All the oceans are connected to the Garden of Eden at the North Pole. The oceans are really just big rivers. Now, what force is causing these rivers to move? Well, it's the Rupes Nigra, which is Mount Zion. Rupes Nigra means black rock. It is a black rock magnetic mountain located at the North Pole. The biggest investment company in the world is BlackRock. Not to mention, BlackRock is 33 French miles wide. And we know who loves that number 33. So I hope that answers your question. The oceans are just big rivers. It's not the moon that's controlling the tides.
so I tried to speed it up a little bit to get it past a few months. So as you can see, it's now in April, and the sun is now closer to the North Pole instead of on the outer edge by the ice wall, which is why it starts warming up. And then this app shows you the phase of the moon, everything. Like, it'll show you exactly what everything's gonna be for specific date. You can choose everything. It's an app in I know it's in the Play Store. I would assume it's probably in the iPhone store too. Shit, I forget what it's called. It's called, just type in Flat Earth, you'll find it. There's not that many Flat Earth maps or apps. But yeah, this app's pretty cool. I would definitely recommend it.
Now, I don't know about you, but I don't remember learning about Auguste Piggard in history class. This guy was attaching metal steel balls to hydrogen balloons and seeing how high he could go in the sky. Literally. Super odd. He seemed to be a big influence on science and our history, but again, we don't really hear about him much. Maybe it's because he's a flat earther. As the first man to reach the stratosphere, he said, "It seemed a flat disc with an upturned edge." Obviously, that quote right there should tell you that's why you're not hearing about him anymore. This guy is a flat earther. Anybody that's a flat earther is not allowed to be in the public eye. But you know what they do in the public eye? Tell us the truth. This is an artist rendition of what Auguste Piggard was doing when he went into the stratosphere, towards the firmament.
My guy. Now y'all know exactly why this man was drowning. 'Cause them people ain't in space. I'ma tell y'all exactly where NASA is shooting those fake space videos at. See, what y'all don't understand is NASA has multiple contracts with virtual reality companies. NASA uses virtual reality contact lenses to interact with objects on the ISS that are literally computer animated in reality. And then the fake objects are added to the video's lives using green screen. And one of these teams they work with is a team from the University of Washington that has created a contact lens assembled with functional circuitry and LEDs. And the potential uses includes virtual display for pilots, video games, projection, and telescopic visions for soldiers. And now their next step are to build a version that can display several pixels. See, NASA can't go to space. They can't go to the moon. That's a light source. It's not even an object. We live underneath the firmament. What y'all don't know is people discovered the Antarctica Circle ice wall long ago. They even had it on the stamps, which is the end of the firmament. And NASA and them know that. That's why they keep sending rockets to nuke the firmament. Everything about NASA is a fraud. They're literally making videos in water. Why you think the same way they move in space, like, you move that same way underwater. That same exact motion. And they telling y'all that's where they practice. That's where they do their space struts at. To practice floating in space. It's in water. You want to know why? Because that's where they make their videos too. Y'all can't tell me that y'all actually looking at these pictures right here and thinking they real. This is where they shooting their videos at. They practice in the water because that's where they make their videos at. And dude helmet thing wasn't on right. So the water started going through the dude helmet and he almost drowned. NASA started in the ocean. So don't forget, NASA started exploring the ocean, water, way before they started exploring space. And these people ain't in space. They still in the water. They just got y'all thinking they in space, knowing they can't get outside the firmament. This supposed to be an actual picture. Y'all can't tell me this don't look like animated CGI. Y'all can't tell me that y'all this brainwashed to believe this. Look at this. This is a video game picture. And then they telling y'all satellites is in space. Man, everybody know that data coming from the cables in the water? Come on.
Power of the system we live in is to make people believe things that are so ridiculous on the face of it, but they've been told it over and over and over since the day they were born that they can't question it anymore. Many of the things, like the sun is a good example. For someone to say the sun's a hell of a lot closer to us than 93 million miles, the average person's going to roll their eyes. This is the system protecting itself in the lie that we have been constructed into. A lot of people will go at this and say, well, why did we get lied to? Well, you can think of basic reasons, like to deny someone the knowledge of knowing where they exist. That deprives a human being of almost everything. To not even understand where you exist denies you really much ability to know where you're going to go, where you've come from, the things that are even possible in this place, because you don't even know what this place is.
You're saying that after a Big Bang, even with the law of thermodynamics called entropy, which we'll get to in a second, somehow our galaxy ended up being a perfectly flat plane? Not just is the solar system a flat plane, the entire Milky Way galaxy is a flat plane, where all the planets spin in the same direction. The odds of that are less than winning the Mega Lotto every single day for thousands of years. Now look at the moon. The moon is a perfect circle. The odds that that happened after Big Bang and just chaos of atoms and particles and dust and rocks colliding is zero. The odds are literally zero. There's no force, there's no wind, there's no erosion, there's no water, there's no force acting upon that moon that would make it a perfect sphere. The odds that the spin of the moon is exactly the same speed as it rotates around the Earth, again, are zero. If it was 1/4 of 1 mile per hour different, it would slowly turn. And there is zero physics explanations with the model of gravity as we know it to explain why its axis rotation is exactly matching it rotate around us so that we only see one side. Light being shined upon a sphere does not make the luminescence the same all the way across. You can do a test with a tennis ball and a flashlight. It's impossible. It can't happen. It only happens on two-dimensional objects. Seeing as you've only seen one side of the moon because of its miraculous rotation and its perfect circle, and the fact that the luminescence is the same across the whole thing, implies, I'm not stating this, it implies it's a two-dimensional object, okay? The size and weight of the moon, according to science, it is impossible for it to be rotating around our Earth. The way the moon was created according to mainstream science is that an object the size of Mars hit Earth and created the moon. That's nonsense. We would have rings like Saturn. Where's all the dust? Where's all the debris? Where's everything? That all just disappeared? That makes no sense at all. Next up, the sun is 400 times bigger and miraculously 400 times farther away than the moon. And like two machine-cut quarters, they line up perfectly to make an eclipse. The odds of that are 1 in trillions times 1 in trillions times 1 in trillions. It's not possible. That the perfect circles in this world line up perfectly with something 400 times larger from a third factor, which is your fixed position on an Earth, that they claim is spinning 1,000 miles an hour. The shadow of the eclipse is 70 miles wide. There is no way to make a shadow smaller than the object. Of course, there are people that say umbra, because like goats, they've been trained to say that, but they cannot recreate an umbra on Earth. They only believe it because they've been indoctrinated to believe it since the time of their birth by people who want to remove their connection to God.
Science is a bit of a religion now. When you come into a scientific group and you challenge NASA, they're not going to talk to you. They're just going to call you a silly man and ignore everything you say. Well, you see, this is the programming of science doing this. Science should be dictating that anything we can question should be questioned, and yet this is not what we see.
The law of entropy is that matter and energy naturally go from order to chaos. If you break a glass, even after 1 billion years, the broken shards will not reform into the glass because objects have a tendency towards entropy, towards dissolving. towards breaking apart. So how do we have a human eyeball from a Big Bang? The Big Bang happens and it creates a never-ending waterfall, cascade, domino effect of atoms smashing against each other in an empty darkness for eternity. So given the law of entropy, that things go from order to chaos, how on earth do we have the structure of a human eyeball in which we can see light and then recreate the light in our minds as images that represent our physical reality? It contradicts to a point of laughable mockery.